Welcome. You're listening to My Magical Horse, the podcast, where we are getting curious about animal communication. I am your host, Jordan Banks, and if you are desiring a more magical connection with your own horse, you are in the right place. Join us as we rediscover our sense of wonder, experience the joy, and feel the magic that horses can and do bring to our lives each and every day. We are so excited to have you here. Thank you for spending your time with us. Now let's get started. Welcome back to My Magical Horse, the podcast. Today, I am so excited to introduce you to Jenny MacSharry. Jenny is an equine therapist and animal communicator located in the southwest of UK. And Jenny was actually the second animal communicator that I ever used. And I don't even really know how I came across her on Facebook. But for whatever reason, I found her on Facebook. I reached out to her, and it was actually on September 22nd, 2022 is the day that I reached out to her, which is an interesting number, and set up a communication session for both Ugo and Xena and one of my client horses. So welcome, Jenny. I'm so excited to have you, and it's kind of fun to come full circle to having you as a guest on my podcast because way back then to be honest, I think I was just starting to get my feet wet of believing in animal communication, and I didn't really know how real it really was. But man, now I'm really immersed in it, and I'm doing a whole podcast about it. So it's kind of fun to have you here as actually, you're the guest on my 12th episode. So this will be the end of my first season. So welcome.
Thank you. Thank you for having me.
You just said, okay, you do equine therapy and you're an animal communicator. Did one of those things come first before the other, or how did you get started? Or I have lots of questions, so we can kind of dive in and I'll just keep asking them. But yeah, is this something like you saw yourself becoming when you were a little girl, or is this something that you just kind of opened your mind to later in life?
So I've always been on a spiritual path, but how I really got into this was in 2012. I had an accident on my mare, and I broke my back in three places.
Oh,
We
wow.
were galloping through a field and I fell off. Um, and yeah, I was in a pretty bad way for quite a while, really. And it was during that time I was kind of like, it was almost like a blessing in disguise. It was like reevaluating where my life was at that point. And I thought, I want to get into equine therapy. I want to do massage. Um, so I contacted a lady called Jo Rose, who I did most of my training with. But she said, you know, with your strength, with your broken back, you wouldn't be able to do that. So she said, what about
Mm.
Reiki? And
Mm.
I was like, a bit skeptical because didn't know much about it, but I did my level 1 Reiki, and I was like, wow, this is. Then went on to do level 2. So my journey into this actually started with energy healing and Reiki.
Oh, wow. Okay.
And then after I did my level 2, which was 2013, it was just like, wow, this is what I want to do.
Can you just explain what Reiki is to somebody, like to listeners that might not know what it is? I mean, it's
Yeah,
an
sure.
energy healing modality.
Yeah, an energy healing modality where, just channeling universal energy in for healing ourselves, healing others. I also do animal Reiki as well, and I teach that
Okay.
as well now. Um,
And you
yeah,
can
it's
do
really
this, you
powerful.
can do it from a distance, like,
Yeah,
okay.
yeah. So yeah, you can do it. So I'd work with people all over the world, tying it in with animal communication as well, and I do healing, distantly, anywhere via photos.
That's cool. So how long were you doing Reiki? I didn't mean to interrupt your flow, but how long
No,
were you
that's okay.
doing Reiki before everything else started to fall into place?
About a year to 2 years, and then I started. Yeah, I did my physical therapies, my massage and other bits, and then There was a lady training, because I was picking up stuff anyway from doing the Reiki through picking up different energies, and then I started the journey for animal communication. So I did my level 1, and then I did advanced animal communication course as well. Um, and then yeah, it just took off from there. And I've been doing, well, that was 2013, so
So
quite a few years
what
now.
made you decide to become an animal communicator? Did it just feel like a natural next step, or did the opportunity present itself, or what did that look like?
Um, so if I'm really honest, I doubted myself for ages. So I was going out and treating horses and doing Reiki. And I really wanted to do the animal communication. I think maybe I wanted to do it too much and I was blocking myself. Um, so it took me years to believe in myself and so many practices. So I used to go out and say, can I just do an animal communication for free while I treat your horse? So yeah,
Okay.
so I did that for ages, until I started getting the feedback and the clarification that actually, yeah, I can do this.
Yeah, I was gonna say, how long did it take till you stopped doubting yourself? Because, well, two things you just said. You wanted it so bad that you feel like you're blocking yourself, because I feel like I've been in that space. Like I want it
Mhm.
so bad. And yeah, I have a lot of doubt. I mean, I'm working through that, but I feel like the wanting it so bad was one of the big blocks that I faced.
And the self-doubt.
Yeah, how did
So the
you overcome
self-doubt.
that?
Um, Two things. I just kept going. I wanted it so much.
Mhm.
I just did. I was doing communications nearly every day for people, just putting it on Facebook, free communications, just to build up my skill set, and also exploring my own beliefs and where those came from and the patterns within that, and exploring it through therapy. And I do something called EFT, tapping therapy. Don't know if you've
Okay.
heard of that.
Hmm.
Which helped me work on my beliefs I had around the animal communication and being able to connect with them. So that really, really helped.
Like self-limiting type beliefs.
Yeah. So that I
Yeah.
can't do this. I'll never be able to do this. And
Yeah.
yeah.
Oh, yeah. And I think that that's important. Just, I know the theme of my podcast, a lot of it has been part of my own healing journey and the things that I've been working through to
Mhm.
kind of unpack all these things that could be blocking my intuitive gifts. But did you feel like you had a lot of stuff that you had to unpack, or was it a relatively simple process for you?
Um, Definitely wasn't simple.
Okay.
No, it was it's been a journey, and I'd lie. Well, we've never really got it all figured out, have we? It's been an ongoing journey over the years, and more over the last maybe 5, 6 years, been on a really, really deep healing journey, and working through lots of stuff, which has really helped with my connection with horses and working with clients' horses as well.
Hmm.
Um, yeah. So no,
What do
it's not
you
been easy, but worth it.
what do you feel like's helped you the most on your own healing journey? Would it be the EFT, or is there more?
Um, I love the EFT. And I do something called matrix re-imprinting, where you can go into the past and, change your beliefs
Mm. Matrix.
and
You mean,
heal.
would you call it
Re
Matrix?
Matrix re-imprinting. So it's like an advanced form of EFT tapping.
Oh, okay.
Um, yeah, it's just really powerful. And so I've studied the last few years horse human trauma recovery,
Okay.
and part of that is somatic experiencing, so working somatically with the body, and that is becoming more self-aware and attuned to myself and what's going on for me is again really helped me like connect with the horses, both my own horses at my therapy center and my clients'
Mm.
horses, and in the animal communications as well.
Yeah, so you mentioned you have a therapy center. When did that come to be? Or like where along in your journey did you start the center?
I mean, my 11 years ago.
Okay.
Yeah,
Um,
so what we started, we were so I've only just qualified as a licensed therapist here in the UK. So previous to that, I did equine facilitated learning. So I was doing more
mm,
coaching rather than
okay.
therapy,
Mm-hmm.
and like therapeutic activities with the clients. But yeah, about when did I start? About 4 years ago, um, I through my own journey of some healing. I was
Huh.
like, I really want to be a trauma therapist. And
Oh, wow.
I did training with an organization called Natural Lifemanship in Texas.
Oh,
Um,
okay.
yeah, and they're amazing, like what they offer. And Equisoma, horse human trauma recovery. And Sarah is actually based in Canada, but she's got centers that she does stuff. So I traveled out to France last year to do my
Wow.
in-person training with her. Um, and yeah, I've just qualified as a licensed counsellor here in the UK. So bringing it all together and seeing how that works with partnering with the horses. Yeah, it's amazing.
Yeah, why don't you tell me a little bit about what an equine assisted therapy session looks like for somebody who has never done one or might be even interested in that type of therapy for themselves, even if they don't own horses.
Yeah, sure. So yeah, look, it's very different for every person that comes. If I'm honest, sometimes it can be a little bit easier with somebody that has no horse experience because we don't put
Really?
any of our the expectations or the past stuff. I'm sure you might relate to what horsey people have been conditioned or taught over the years.
Yeah.
Um, through the horsey world. And it's like, yeah, so they're detached from all of that. So they just show up how they are with this horse, with our horses. And so horses have the innate ability to, it's not that they mirror what we've got going on, they respond in the very moment to our energy and what we are feeling. And a lot of clients that come to me have experienced past trauma, or have mental health challenges or other things going on. And quite often they've got a disconnection to their bodies, for
Mhm.
whatever reason, and unconscious patterns within the nervous system and everything else. And yeah, when we start doing therapy sessions out in the field with the horses, all my horses have got a choice to participate. So they are all
Mm.
at liberty. And um, yeah, it's really fascinating because they will just show up, or respond to what's going on for the client within. And then I can reflect what the behavior of the horse is showing. And it really gets them to, like, look inwards and notice what they've got going on
Mm.
inside. And
Mhm.
especially a lot of the therapy that I do is relational based therapy. So working in
Mm.
relationship attachment patterns, you know, trauma as well that's happened within relationship. And without us really consciously being aware, we project those patterns when we show up in a relationship with the horse. And all of
Mhm.
that comes out. And it comes out very, very quickly, or can do come out very quickly. Um, yeah, when we're in the space with the horse. But also it can heal very quickly as well within the space with the horse through the co-regulation and the
Mm.
presence of the horses. It's really, I find it just really beautiful to watch how it
That's
plays out.
cool. Like maybe give me like an example of, I mean, just what it could look like. Like what would the horse do? Or like how would you know that the horse was, I know this may be diving a little deep, but just curious. Like what
Um,
was like what kind of things are you looking for, I guess? And how do you then convey that to your client?
so for example, oh, so I'm just trying to think. You might get a client saying, everything's okay. Because I work with children as well and teenagers,
Mm,
and
okay.
they might be getting everything's okay. But really, they've had a really bad morning at home or at school, and they're coming into the session with all this stuff going on. Um, and they're so used to, carrying on at school to carry on with it and continue. And the horse might just, he won't. I've got a little pony that's really good at showing, and he might almost go to nip the client or turn his
Mm,
bum, but in a way, not in an aggressive way, in a way to say, no, no, don't come near me. I don't want to deal with that. So I'm
mm,
watching the horse's behavior all the time, and they're showing me what might be present within the horse, within the client.
mm, mhm,
Um, and then I can just reflect and say, oh, I've just noticed, the horses, or maybe the horse might just walk away and don't want anything to do with them, won't come up to them. Um, and I'll just say, I've noticed this, what's going on for you? And, sometimes it might take a few times to kind of explore what's going on, the dynamics. Or other times they might go, well, I'm really frustrated right now, or I've got this going, I'm really sad. And so it just helps them bring up kind of more to the surface where they can see something, another being in relationship responding to what they've got
Hmm.
going on. Does that make sense?
Yeah, and then do you see the healing like real time? Like what does
Hmm.
that look like? I mean,
So then when we come back to them and we can focus on, what is this about? What's going on for you? I had a lady the other day in one of my trainings, and what came up, the horse just kept ignoring her, and she was almost just stood there, not really asking anything. And we explored this concept of asking for her needs to be met, or having a conversation with the horse to ask for a little bit more, and that being okay. Um, because we say, like, the horse is allowed to say no. So if the horse like turns away or moves away, they're allowed to say no, but we are allowed to have a conversation to, build on what we're asking. So yeah,
yeah.
hers was about, I reflected, this is this a pattern in your life? Does this come up much about, not being able to voice your needs or what you've got going on, or yeah, around communication? She was just, I could see her eyes fill up, and she was like, yeah, that's a lot. So yeah, we just focus, and we come back to her, and we do so my processes are EFT tapping, and we might tap on the
Mm-hmm.
emotion. We might use matrix to go back where the first time that happened, where she's learned this from childhood. Or we use SE, somatic experiencing, where we sit with the feelings within the body.
Oh.
um
Okay.
and we process it, we work through it and process it, and then we try again. And then you'll often see, once there's a shift within the
Oh.
person and they go back in and do whatever it is, it might just be going up to say hello to the horse, or whatever it is, but you'll see the interaction change, and you'll notice the difference, and you'll see that, almost that connection coming a little bit stronger, because the
So
horse notices the shift.
so in real time you're watching this, so you do some therapy, then they approach the horse again, and then the interaction shifts. That's really cool.
Mhm.
What was the somatic thing that you talked about? You said sometimes you have them sit with it?
Yeah, so it's just like somatic therapy. So a process I use is SE, somatic experiencing, which is
Okay.
founded by Peter Levine, and it's just
Oh, okay.
um, being with feelings and felt sense within the body, and opening up more capacity within the nervous system to be with more of these feelings within the body, and just helping, um, yeah, helping us process difficult emotions and feelings.
So instead of trying to ignore those feelings or shove them down, you're just literally sitting with them.
Sitting with them, but in small pieces, very
Mm.
small pieces, so it's manageable. So we don't just
Mm.
shut down, or we don't dissociate, or we don't, because again, horses pick that up very quickly if we're
Yeah.
shut off.
Yeah.
Um, yeah, they know that. They know when we're not present.
Yeah, they definitely do. And then how did the horses help in the healing part itself? I mean, like, so you said that the horses will respond differently
Mhm.
to a client, and then you
Mhm.
do some tapping or you do some SE. What's the horse's role from like a healing perspective? What does that look like?
Um,
Does the horse
it-
decide that? I mean, like, I'm going to assume
yeah,
each session looks individual, of course.
yes. So it's not as if they heal. It's almost just the feedback they give
Okay.
in the present moment is what.
Helps assist the
um
healing.
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah.
So it's not as if
Okay.
they're healing.
Yeah. Okay. I just wanted to kind of clarify that, I guess.
Uh-huh.
Um, well, that's really cool. And then you just got your psycho. What was it that you just got?
So I've just qualified as a licensed therapist here in the UK.
Okay.
So
So that's
yeah.
just an awesome addition to all the tools that you already were integrating
Mm.
into your business. That's
And
super
it looks like I'm doing lots of different things, but really all of it weaves in,
into
because
the same
primarily, yeah, so what I'm
thing.
doing is helping horses and humans create better relationships with themselves and others in the world around them. And all of
Gotcha.
that, the treatments that I do with the, like, I treat horses, animal communication, therapy with people, all of it just interweaves, and it's just, yeah, it weaves in quite beautifully together. So
I
yeah.
love that. I love that. When you were young, Did you ever
Hmm.
see yourself doing this, or is this like, I know sometimes, like when I was a kid, I used to believe I could just talk to dogs. I mean, I didn't know what animal communication was. I just believed I
Mm.
could do it. And then somewhere along the line, that belief kind of got erased from my mind because I was told you can't do that or you shouldn't be doing that, or I don't know. So what did it look like for you?
Mm. Well, I always wanted to be a vet.
Oh, really?
Um,
Okay.
yeah, apparently when I was younger, I always used to say I wanted to be a vet. Um, yeah, not, or I wanted to work with animals, and I suppose yeah, I do
Mm,
that now. I
yeah.
I wanted to work with animals, I just didn't know how that looked at the time, and maybe a vet or something like that was the
That
go-to.
was the way to do
Um,
it. Yeah. If you be a vet,
yeah.
then you get to work with animals. Did you feel like you could communicate with animals as a kid, or is that not something that was really on your radar?
Um, it wasn't something that I thought about when um, yeah, no, it wasn't something I thought about. But my mum and dad used to say that I'd always have like imaginary friends and imaginary animals. So
Yeah.
maybe I
Okay.
was speaking to them in spirit form. Who
Yeah.
knows?
Interesting. I used to have, yeah, invisible horses that would gallop alongside the car, because I didn't have a real horse, so I had to have an invisible horse, and then the invisible horse would go with me places outside the car, you know, galloping along.
Yeah.
It's just kind of funny to think about. I actually hadn't even thought about that for a long time. Hmm.
Oh, is this like every horsey person's? Yeah, I had a whole riding stables full of horses outside front of my house, and I used to book people in for
Yeah,
lessons and take them out on little hacks up the lane
in your imaginary world.
in my imaginary world. Yeah.
Yeah, I love that. Um, okay, I want to talk a little bit about the clairs in animal communication, like the different ways that you can receive messages. Um, what do you feel like is your strongest clair?
Clairsentient and clairvoyant.
So
So
explain to the listeners what those are.
so clairsentient is sensing and feeling,
Okay.
and clairvoyance is seeing. And then you've got
Okay.
clairaudience,
Hmm.
which is hearing, and then clairambience, which is taste and smell.
Oh, okay.
Um, which I struggle a bit on those. Sometimes I
Oh,
get tastes and smells, but I'm not that great.
so you
Um,
feel like you can see things and you feel or know or kind of both.
feel no. So my feeling of my energy, um, so the way I feel things, sometimes words won't even do it justice. I feel more than words could explain. And that's both a blessing and a curse, maybe, because it's not just in
Mm.
animal communication, it's in
Hmm.
everyday life, in everything. Um, yeah. So my energy, feeling people's energy, feeling the animal's energy, and picking up on that is a lot stronger. So when I communicate with animals, so I'll generally get a feeling of something like I'm going to use this for an example. So if I asked like how people often say is the saddle fitting, or if they got a problem with their
Mm.
tack. So I'll
Hmm.
get them to show me a picture of the saddle going on. Not only will I get a picture of what the horse is doing, ears back, trying to bite, but I'll just get this feeling in my body. So I'll feel as I'm doing that where the tension is in the body. I can also feel the imbalance of the rider. So it's like I'm almost, so this sounds weird saying it out loud, but I just thought to myself, it's like I'm in the body of the horse. So I can
Okay.
feel
Yeah.
their pain, I can feel their tension, I can feel what their emotions are, if they're angry, happy with it, or whatever else it is. So I'll get like a picture and then the feelings all around it, which I don't hear animals say, oh, my saddle hurts and I've got this pain. The picture and the feeling, then I translate that into words that's I can put to the
Yeah.
caregiver.
Yeah, I was, before this interview today, I was just refreshing my memory on the communications that you and I had done together. And I think
Mhm.
it was on the fourth one, you had actually just sent me like some voice notes from
Mhm.
and there, yeah, and one of them you were like, oh, I'm trying to think of the word. And it was like, because you were trying to come up with the word of what it was that you were feeling. Um,
Yeah.
So it's like almost like you're having to translate you're translating the feeling into words
Yeah,
as
which can be
part of
tricky because sometimes the word doesn't quite do it justice. So, and I can't always articulate that word for what it is. So I kind of like, if you've heard my voice notes, if I'm doing them in person, I'm like saying all these different words. I'm like,
yeah.
no, that's not right. But I kind of they get the picture, the caregivers get the picture of what it is, the feeling that I'm trying to, yeah, translate.
Yeah. So you see things and then you feel things. Do you feel like like the way that you receive messages, has that remained pretty consistent or has that evolved over the years that you've been doing this?
Definitely evolved because, yeah, I get more like I get videos now, so they show me
Mm.
like just rather than like just pictures, I get like videos of things. If I ask horses about their past or show me what it's like being ridden, they'll show me them being ridden, and I can determine where
Oh,
they're stuck in their body, or pain, or so I kind of like I can do communications for anything, but I kind of specialize a bit in behavioral issues, relational issues between horse and human, and pain
okay.
related issues.
And pain
Um,
related. Okay.
and also, so I never used to hear. So the clairaudience side wasn't there. But then sometimes I will tune into an animal, a horse. I say animal because I do dogs and cats and stuff. But
Okay. So you don't
I
just
will,
do horses, which is totally fine. Yeah. We're
um, I, I'll go on. Sorry.
Oh, I was gonna say this is about all animal communication, so it's all good.
Um, yeah. So and then I'll get like yeah, just a voice. So sometimes it sounds like my own voice, and then other
Mm,
times it can just be like, whoa, where did that come from? It's like
mm.
the voice of the animal, which can be really bizarre because it's like this other voice is talking to me. Um,
So you
yeah,
do get those sometimes. Sometimes you get clairaudient messages.
yeah.
That's cool. Um, and then because you're a healer, so I know in the sessions that we did, then you said that you incorporated sending healing to them. So there was that
Mhm.
Reiki that you were doing with them when they would show you whatever it was that was having issue, and then you said I'm sending them healing. Is
Yeah.
is that utilizing the Reiki piece?
Yeah, so I do Reiki and I do like universal earth energy healing. So I just connect to the earth energy and the universal energy and bring all of that up into my heart and send that out. And so I also do energy clearing. So sometimes if I tune into an animal and I find they're a little bit, off, I'll just scan their bodies and douse and check, are they holding on to any negative energy, any cord attachments to people, any negative entities, beings, or anything else
Mm.
that might prevent them from being present and, and communicating with me. And I'll clear all of their energy of whatever they've got going on. And then I can send healing to energetically help them, balancing their chakras, their aura meridians, helping release trapped emotions in the body, and then also send healing to physical pain. Yeah.
So you mentioned dowsing, and then did I say that right? Dowsing?
Dowsing, yeah. I
What
use
is
a pendulum.
Oh, okay. So what does that look like? Just for people that aren't familiar.
I did have, I don't know where it's gone now. I put it away. I did have my
Uh,
dowser out with me
oh,
earlier.
okay.
But
Is
yeah,
that
so it's
just
just like
another
a
name for a pendulum? Dowser?
yeah, so it's a pendulum, but then you douse with the pendulum.
Oh,
So it's
oh,
like,
okay.
yeah, so it's like on a chain with a little crystal at the bottom and just asking for the yes or no answers.
Okay.
Um,
And
and
is
then
that the same thing as muscle testing? Is that the same thing or is that different?
so muscle testing, I do my muscle
Oh,
testing is using my fingers like that. So that's a kinesiology um
okay.
way of doing it. Other people do different ways, don't they, with their arms? So I do
Okay.
a yes or no with my holding my fingers together. So a positive response, a strong response is a locked muscle, and then if it comes apart, it's a no.
Oh, okay, cool. That's awesome. I'm
Mhm.
familiar with this, but I would love to, yeah, kind of explain it to people because I know when I first did the first energy healing class that I ever did, which was with Felicity, I had no idea about any of this. I was like,
Mm.
and I also didn't even realize that we were doing that as part of our animal communication training. And I was like, whoa, what are we doing? It was all very, very new to me. But you mentioned that you will clear like negative entities. What does that look like? I mean, is there a way to explain that to people? I mean, because it sounds kind of scary. Like, but what does that mean?
So basically, I don't go into like what it is. I ask for it to be cleared, but so we can get entity attachments and spirit attachments connected to us. Usually I find when our energy is low, and
Mm,
we may be like, ill or stressed, and just external energy attachments can come and attach to our energy, and it can feel like it almost drains us. Generally it's not a cause to worry, and we release these things as we go, and it shifts, but sometimes we can hold on to things that aren't really serving our purpose, so energy
mm,
attachments, and yeah, just by clearing these you can notice. So I do a lot of just energy clearing for people as well, and yeah, the shift almost instantly when you clear negative energy, cord attachments, or anything else that's like um yeah, anything that's like affecting their energy. And yeah, you
mhm.
notice the shift, but it's
Yeah,
nothing to worry about.
that's fascinating actually, because I know we had talked about it in the class I did about it attaching to people, and we may have talked about it about horses, but I hadn't thought about it. I hadn't thought about it in the aspect that a horse could have an energy attachment that's, like not serving them that
Yeah.
needs to be cleared. How often do you
Just
find that actually? Like, how common is that?
um quite common, especially like when I'm working with horses in bar, um like, oh God, get your words out.
Like a stable?
Livery. Yeah,
Yeah.
like bar,
Okay.
like with lots of other horses, there's lots of people going, there's other horses coming in and out, and um people come and they've had a bad day at work, and they just,
Mm,
oh yeah, this happened. And it's like almost like a dump of negative energy. And I find like the horses are just be susceptible to picking up this stuff. And
mm,
um, yeah, I could, so seeing my animals all the time. I've got three horses here now. Um, and I know when they've had, like, they've just got too much stuff. Because obviously I do the equine assisted learning and therapy with the kids and clients coming here. So sometimes, or not sometimes, I generally check in on them a couple of times a month just to check that they're okay, and
mm,
they're not holding on to any clients' energies or anything. So
mm.
yeah,
So almost make it like a regular, just maintenance thing to kind of
yeah,
clear energy.
yeah. I feel with energy healing, it's almost important. We are energy. We're energetic
Right?
beings, and
Right.
we we go and have like massages and do things like that for our soft tissue, and then we eat
Uh-huh.
healthy and go to the gym. We do that, but our energy is just as important. And
If not the most important thing, really, because it affects
yeah,
everything else.
yeah.
Yeah.
It's just I'm laughing now because I got a friend that has regularly monthly check-ins. He has, and
Uh-huh.
he calls it his spiritual MOT. So he has his little energy clearing and healing and stuff.
That's
Yeah,
good. Yeah.
yeah.
That's awesome. Um, hmm. My brain's kind of going all over the place. Let's see. Um, I know I was really freaked out by the term negative entities. I'm like, what? What is that? You know?
Mm,
When I did my energy healing class that I did, because it was a concept I just wasn't familiar with that. I was like, what are we talking about here? But now I'm like really into, yeah, the whole cleansing, clearing, grounding,
mm.
setting the protection, all that stuff. Do you do all of that too, with the grounding and
Yeah, grounding, protecting. Yeah.
yeah. And doing it with my horses, it actually has made a big difference, especially for my gelding. Like he's gotten much calmer since I've integrated that into like our daily routine of
Mhm.
what we do together. So that's pretty cool.
Mm. Yeah, no, it does
Mm.
make a massive difference. Like,
Yeah.
I sometimes feel that some of the simpler stuff, People have think it's like this like wacky, magical, whatever it is, but grounding and protecting our horses and just intending like because even we can do this, you just intend for all the negative energy they're holding on to just be cleared, either go down in the ground into the roots or go up to the universe to be transmuted. That's just a really simple way of clearing their energy, just
Yeah,
setting
and
that intention.
also the power of simply of setting intentions. Like that was one thing that I learned is that I didn't realize how powerful our intentions are.
Hmm.
Um, that was a huge eye opener for me, actually. Like, wow, I did not know this. And I think more people would benefit if they did know how powerful their intentions, because sometimes you're
Mm,
setting intentions and you don't even realize you're setting them. You know what I mean? Like maybe negative ones on accident. You know?
100%.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Um,
Um, mm,
oh, sorry. I think that so when we're talking about energy and that we're energy, I remembered what I was going to ask you. So,
yep.
like, how would you explain to somebody on this topic of energy, and we are all energy, how would you explain to somebody how animal communication works? Like somebody who's like, what do you mean you do this from a distance? Or what do you mean you do this? You're not with the horse when you're doing this. How do you explain that to someone who doesn't necessarily understand um, the process?
Yeah. So it's weird for me. I just get it, but I understand there's a lot of people that don't just get it, and I have a lot of people. I teach animal communication, and people want to know the scientific side of it. Um, so quantum physics, and I'm not going to talk about quantum physics too much because it goes a bit over my head, but
Yeah.
there is no um space and time don't really exist. Everything's just interconnected. So we can connect to energy across the world in the present. We can also go into the past and future um, through quantum physics. Um, but yeah, I'm not doing that any justice speaking about that. But yeah, so it's basically we're connecting to energy. So this is why when I teach animal communication, I always start on my introduction level with doing it via photographs. So
Hmm.
when people can connect to the energy via the photograph and we're tuning in um telepathically, aren't we, through
Hmm.
to the energy of that. And then we're picking up messages in the animal's aura. So electromagnetic frequencies, which are stored within the aura, which give the messages. So that's what we're picking up. Because it's very easy. And I say this to people, and they're like, well, I can't do it with on my training course. We can't do it by photo. But I said, if you can do it by photo, you can do it in person. Because if you've got an animal in person there, it's so easy to be. So, for example, if they come and see my dog, it's like, that my dog looks tired, or my dog might have a bad paw, and you can see that in the now, which then can affect the way you communicate because you've already got that judgment on or that knowing of that. But yeah, via the
Hmm.
photo, you don't have that. And so how do I do this? So it takes a lot of work to come and center to yourself. So I teach meditation when I do the animal communication. So it's really coming into the body, coming into the present moment, clearing our heads of all the thoughts and just being really present with ourselves. And then we go into some breath work and we really like drop down into, we want to be in a state which, into the theta delta brainwave state. So we want to come into this space where we're in a deep meditative state, but we're still consciously aware. So I teach my clients and my students when we do animal communication to just drop down into that space, and we'll have a series of different exercises that I help them um, do that and embody it as well.
Hmm.
And when they're in that space, we then connect with our heart center and we focus on like igniting the feeling of love and connecting to that space here. And then that's what the horses feel or animals feel. So when we're in a really present state and when we're in the um, a meditative state, but we're still consciously aware, we can connect our energy to the animal. It sounds so easy saying it out loud and doing it, but connect our energy to the animal. We open up our heart, we connect to whatever animal the picture we're looking at, or if they're in person, and then we just start the communication and we just ask. I tend to start. I introduce myself, and my first question. will always be, is there anything you'd like to tell me to start? So I just lead it with that, and then I'll go into more question bases. Um, but it's in this space where I just said, that sounds quite simple, doesn't it, in theory, what I just said.
Yeah.
Um, but this is where the self-doubt comes in, where the limiting beliefs come in. I say to my student, it happened to me, but I teach more people now, and it's like that's where I notice they're like, I can't do this, I can't sit still, and all the thoughts come up. So they're not going down into the meditative state.
Mm.
Does that make sense?
Yeah. So, do you think that's the hardest part? Just getting yourself into that, you said delta theta brainwave state? Is that what you said?
I'm not sure if that's the hardest part. I think the limiting conditions that we put on ourselves, society puts on ourselves, is the hardest part, getting past them and just
Mhm.
acknowledging them. And that's the thought pattern that's coming up. And being able to just kind of switch off. So again, for many people that, and again, this was like me. This is why I struggled with it for so long. I just couldn't switch off. My brain was busy, and I just had so much going on, and I just
Mhm.
had to really practice mindfulness and meditation for a long time to just be with the stillness and the quietness. Because what is it? Is it 50 to or 70,000 thoughts a day we produce?
Yeah,
Something
I
like
think
that?
I'm still in that struggling phase of trying to get my thoughts quiet, but yeah, like to find the neutral, right? So you're trying to find this neutral space
Mhm,
so that you can identify what's theirs and what's yours, or
mhm. Yeah. So this is how far I developed. When I started doing mindfulness, I had this little app, and a minute to 2 minutes, that was so hard. That was like impossible. But now in animal communication, I can be in a communication for up to an hour and a half.
Wow.
And the timer just goes. So I'll be asking questions, doing healing and communicating. I'll be like, oh, and I'm in it. Does that make sense? It's like
Yeah.
I'm not
Yeah.
really aware of anything else that's going on.
Do you feel like I don't know, like the questions, like how important are the questions that people bring to you, or will the horses just bring up what needs to come through? Or if the person doesn't ask the right questions, are they not going to get the answers that they really need?
Um, it really varies on the horse.
Mm.
So sometimes I tune into a horse and it's like it sounds like a person. When you talk to somebody sometimes and they just, yeah, no, yeah. And you don't really get much from them, or you've got other people, which is like a me, which you could maybe bump into me and you might know my whole life story within 10 minutes. I'm an
Yeah,
oversharer.
that makes a lot of sense actually. So how do you get those horses that are, yeah, like, yeah, no, yeah, like how do you get them to open up? Because I know exactly what you're talking about per people, like there are some people that you
Yeah,
feel like you can't get them
it's
to open up.
I just keep asking the questions, and it's almost like you just have to keep repeating it and flowing. But I do find it shifts a bit. So when they start to realize that you're listening to them and you're hearing them in that, and they're
Mm.
feeling seen and heard, that they start to open up a little bit more and something shifts.
Mm.
Um, yeah. So I just keep asking the questions. And going back to your question about question bases versus free flow. So I tend to start and end my communication with is there anything you'd like to tell me to start? And then I'll be like, okay, are you in any pain? How are you feeling right now? Is there anything your caregiver can do to make things better? Or whatever the questions are. And
Hmm.
then when I finish, I'll say, is there anything you'd like to tell me to finish? So I open up space either side questions
Mm.
for them to just share what they want to share.
Gotcha.
And if there's anything. And I do say to caregivers as well, because they'll be like, oh, just see what comes up. And sometimes that
It's
nothing
too
comes
like
up.
then it's too
It's,
broad or too vague.
yeah, and then it's like almost there's this judgment. So like, well, you didn't pick up what I wanted, but it's like the horse doesn't know what you want to share. So
Yeah. What about people who aren't sure if they believe in animal communication, so they're afraid to give you too much information, like, because they're like, oh, well, she knew that because I told her X, Y, or Z. Like, what? what could you speak to those people? Like, I mean, because it's almost like you can get more detailed information if
I
they
just
ask.
keep the questions really vague. So I
Mm,
had a lady the other day who was really skeptical and she didn't, um, yeah, the questions were just vague. So it was like, are you in any pain? What's
hmm.
bothering you right now? How it, how do you feel about the other horses? What is it you don't like? What do you like? So it's things I don't know, but they're
Yeah.
vague questions. And then that led me on to the things that were going on for the horse.
And so then does she feel like, did that help her? Like, go, oh, okay. Like, she
Yeah,
didn't really
she
give you
booked,
any leads on anything, just kept the questions
no, no,
pretty
no,
vague.
no. And then she booked her other horse in as well. So after
Oh,
I did the
okay.
first,
Okay.
yeah,
Yeah.
she was like, wow, that was, everything was spot on. And even down to, oh, I said, is there a I think it was a grey pony. And she said, no, not here. 'Cause that was it. One of the questions were, who are your friends?
Oh.
And a grey pony. She said, no, not here. And I said, well, was there a grey pony? And it was the old field mate that had passed away. And I said, funny you
Oh.
should say it because I got the grief came up as well at the same time of
Oh.
this grey pony, um, which I wouldn't have known because that was 3 years ago when they lived at the old place.
Yeah. Wow. So, yeah, what do you say to people that are skeptics? Like, do you have anything that comes up that you tell them of,
Um, I actually just point them into the direction of my Facebook page now because
oh,
I've got lots of lovely feedback from clients. Um, and yeah, I just say to them, yeah, just just check out the feedback that I've got and the experience I've
yeah.
got. And
I feel like for
um,
me, like my belief in it has amplified, um,
mm,
definitely through my lived experiences with animal communicators and the information, yeah, that they were able to pull forward. And I mean, there were
mm,
some such profound things that you're just like, once I think you experience that and you're like, there is no way this person would have known this,
mm,
then it's really hard to deny that it's real, you know?
yeah,
Because but that's almost like you have to be willing to put yourself out there to at least try it so that you can
yeah.
see. I don't know.
And generally, I do get a lot of skeptics, quite a lot of
Mm,
people that I work with are kind of like, and that it's word of mouth. People have
mm,
recommend me or say, yeah, have you tried a animal communicator? So I do get a lot of skeptics, but I think once they kind of um, push past that kind of, okay, let's give it a go.
the
Like you just said,
resistance.
yeah, the resistance when you start hearing it, um, you see their mouths drop and they're just like, wow, how would you know that? But I think that it goes back to, well, this is my opinion, it goes back to, in society, we're shunted down, people can't talk to animals, that's woo woo, that's this, that's that. So people have these beliefs about it. And
Hmm.
you're batting up against those beliefs. Um, and it's not until those beliefs are challenged in the real time, isn't it? And you see
Yeah.
that, oh, well, that's happened, that those can start to, crumble away and shift.
Yeah. Yeah. I
Um,
had a lot of beliefs, like just I had to work through a lot of beliefs about whether or not it was even okay to work with an animal communicator because of like religious background and stuff. That took me a
mhm,
while to kind of unpack all of that.
mhm,
But I think really the shift was the amount of amazing like growth and goodness that came out of these sessions
mhm,
was undeniable. I mean, it was so undeniable. I was like, There's no way that this is bad. Like, this is all for like the highest and best good of everybody involved and the information coming forward. In
mhm,
my own healing journey, I mean, a lot of it was related to that. And and my horse is kind of guiding me on my path, guiding me to do this. I mean, Ugo was part of the reason why I came up with this, my magical horse platform, was because of information that came through in an animal communication session where my jaw dropped and I was like, what? Like, there's no way the communicator knew the things that she was telling me that he was telling me to do were things that I'd already been thinking about doing, but I just hadn't gone there yet or I hadn't committed to them. So
Hmm.
that was, for me, that I think that was like the tipping point or the pushing point. But I wanted to ask you, how often do horses bring up like things that their human needs to heal?
So as you were saying that, I was gonna, and you asked the question as you were saying that, I was like, yeah, so quite a lot. So,
Yeah.
and that is a big reason why I train to do my counseling and psychotherapy, because
Okay.
I'm now able to hold what comes up within a session. And this
Mm,
is just, and when I go out treating horses um and stuff that comes up, yeah, quite a lot. So there's not always, sorry, there's this relational compound, and the horse will be like, well, in the nicest possible way, there's nothing going on with me right now. You want to look at them. But then it's just about how you can do that in a because sometimes it can be difficult. You've been on a healing journey. It's quite
yeah.
easy to project our stuff onto others, and that happens again in the relationship with horses. It's a relational element, and we as horse people can project our stuff onto the horses, and
Hmm.
sometimes it can be difficult. So yeah, having that compassionate based way of saying, what might be going on for you right now. Um, and yeah, it can bring up a lot. Um, I won't
Well,
share anything because it's quite confidential, but there's been a few clients recently
yeah.
where it's really tapped in, and the emotions come through. And um yeah, one in particular was just like the owner was coming through and doing all the things, but there was an incongruence with her energy. So, and then when we kind of explored that, she just had so much going on, bless her. So we just held the space to explore that a little bit more. But it happens more often than not that there's
Yeah,
bits going on with the caregivers.
that's what I'm learning just from my own experience and the different groups that I've participated in and my own just healing journey and learning journey and all the things is that like yeah, a lot of times it is us that we need to dial in, see what we can do to help our horses versus us helping our horse. Like we think we want to do something to fix them, but maybe we need to fix us first, right? Or
Are they
something
really the problem?
something along
That's what
those
I was
lines
questioning.
anyway.
I
Yeah.
know, I 100%. And do you know what? I wouldn't be the person I am today without my horses. Like they have shown me so much. Going to my mare that I fell off and broke my back, that was the biggest blessing in disguise that I had. She transformed my life that day, from where I was and the journey I've been on since then. And then yeah, just other horses, teaching me things about how to manage my anger, how to show up better in relationships, how to learn patience, how to be more present in myself. These are
Mhm.
invaluable life lessons,
Yeah.
and they're
I
still
mean,
showing me things now.
yeah, and they're leading us, I guess, to look deeper and to find the answers to those. I don't want to call it an issue, but you know what I mean, to those
Our
avenues that
challenges. Yeah, yeah.
our challenges. Yes, yes.
Mm.
But it's interesting that you said you broke your back. You broke your back?
Mm. In three places.
So how long did that take for you to heal from?
Funnily enough, they said that I wouldn't be able to ride for at least a year, and I was struggling. I couldn't really walk at the start, but that's when I started doing Reiki. And
Right.
part of your Reiki level 1 is a 21-day Reiki cleanse and self-healing. So you have to
Oh,
give yourself Reiki for 21 days. And my 3-month X-ray at the hospital, I'll never forget it because I panicked. I'd got a lift to the hospital. I'd gone in and they called in. There were 7 professionals in there. And so they kept calling them in. And so I was thinking, nobody said anything to me. So I was sat there like, what's going on? Like, is this bad? What's going on? And they couldn't believe it. They said that the X-ray showed it was as if nothing had happened. It had healed so well. And there was a I don't know what her role was, but she was, yeah, a specialist doctor in the hospital from New Zealand, and she was the only one that had heard of energy healing and Reiki. And
Oh,
I told her
wow.
about it, and she was like, "Wow, yeah." So yeah, so it was 3 months, and the day that I got discharged, I got dropped off home by my dad had taken me to hospital. I got in my car and drove straight down to the field and tacked my horse up and went out for a ride.
Wow, that's incredible. That's awesome. I'm
Mm.
glad I asked you about that actually. And the reason I asked you about it is because like you kind of, you mentioned it, but honestly, so you are like my 12th interview.
Hmm.
Every single person that I have interviewed that like their horses have led them to what they're doing now, there was
Mm.
some major event, whether it be an accident or some
Mm.
sort of, if it wasn't an injury, some sort of health or major, something that made you stop and have to shift what you're doing.
Mm.
I mean, for me, it was the same thing. It wasn't an accident, but there was a pain related component that made me have to like stop because I couldn't even ride at the time. Anyway, like the horses are guiding us. I mean, they're guiding us on these shaping our life's purpose.
Mm. Do you know what? That's actually like that's hit a little bit of an emotional spot in me. Were you
Really?
saying that? Yeah,
Really?
because I've maybe never reflected on it in that. And then as you said that, I just started looking back, and obviously I just told you about Joe, my mare. And without my horses, I wouldn't be doing any of this.
Right?
Like they got me into my therapy, my
Mhm.
healing journey, like doing my treatments. They got me into the animal communication. Um, yeah, my own personal therapy,
Mhm.
then training to be a therapist for other people, setting up my equine therapy center, like all of it. Yeah.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah. I mean,
I
it's
don't give
it's
them
a
enough credit.
definitely a theme that I have seen again and again. And it's fascinating to me every time I hear, like, I had no idea that you had an accident. Prior
Mm,
to today, I didn't know you had an accident and you broke your back. Now you're telling me
mm.
this. I'm like, oh my gosh, another one. Another
Yeah,
one where
wow.
made a horse made something happen to point you into the direction that you are now. It is
Mm,
fascinating, actually, to kind
mm.
of think on that a little bit, but it's beautiful too. Um,
Yeah,
their
yeah. Mm.
role in our lives. So that's so cool. So you mentioned that you teach animal communication. How long have you been
Mhm.
doing that for?
Oh, I want to say at least about 6 years,
Okay.
maybe longer,
And
7.
do you
I couldn't give you.
do you just do in-person classes or do you do online things or what does it look like?
So run mainly in person.
Mhm.
But I did do so all of it is available to teach online. I kind of went into online teaching during lockdown.
Mm,
Um, but I do love the in-person stuff. I just love the energy of groups in person.
yeah.
But watch this space because I've actually just been talking to my supervisor today because I also teach animal communication within my equine assisted learning. So I work with
Oh, okay.
neurodivergent children.
Okay.
Excuse me. And oh, it's been really lovely. So I've been teaching some of the neurodivergent children I work with Reiki and animal communication, and they're so good. They're so intuitive. Um, and yeah, I've been looking at um I know some other people that want to do it around the UK. So my supervisor was saying about doing sessions online. So
Mm.
this might be something that might be happening again.
Watch the space. Yeah, no,
Watch
that's
this space.
cool.
Yeah, yeah.
And I did want to ask you another question about your process, like when someone books a session with you.
Hmm.
So I know when we did it back in 2022, I sent you a photo and I
Yeah.
sent you like a list of questions. And then you connected, so it wasn't like real time. Like I wasn't with you when you connected with them, but then you asked the
Hmm.
questions. You actually sent me out this beautiful, I wish I had it here, but I don't have it. This beautiful printout with my horse's photos and then, like a transcript of the session. And I love having that kind of stuff because I can go back and read it again.
Hmm.
And then I know when we did the fourth horse that was a client's horse, that particular one, you sent me voice notes. Same thing though. I
Mm.
still have them and I went back and listened to the voice notes and I loved it. But what I was going to mention is that both times though, like if I had a follow-up question, you reconnected with them and like asked them the
Mm.
follow-up question or whatever it was. Does your is your process still the same? Like do you still do it that way or what does it look like now? Because I know it's been a while since I worked with you.
Yeah, so generally I ask for the question. So yeah, ask for the photo, and then whatever questions they want to ask. And then I think now I just kind of ask the questions around that. So there's
Mm.
generally not really that much follow-up to do. Um, I think it's just developed a lot since, I'm
Since
practicing a
then,
lot more. Yeah.
yeah.
Um, and then what I will do is do the communication healing and then email out a full written report. I think we did the voice notes. I'm pretty sure, thinking back, there was just a problem with my laptop or something, and I was
Yeah, I
traveling.
think that wasn't your normal thing. You're just
No.
like, I hope this is okay, but I'm gonna send you these voice notes.
Um,
So you
yeah,
usually
so I,
do a report, like you email it.
yeah, and then I do in person. So usually I do like a treatment and communication package, obviously for
Mm.
people locally. But I have done a couple of times. Some people have, I don't tend to do this too much, but I can do it. It's only because the reason I don't tend to do it is because my brain works better in the morning. So I'll tend to get up and I'll
Mm.
do my communications between like 6 a.m. and 8 a.m. So people don't
Mm.
want to be awake then or down the stables. But I can do it that if people want to have the phone in the stable and I'll connect with
Mm.
the horse while they're sat with the horse as well.
Oh, like while they're with the horse.
Hmm.
Oh, okay, that's cool. So like I know I had you connect with two of my client horses. Um,
Hmm.
and then you said that you just asked the horses permission to
Hmm.
connect with them. Yeah, what does it look like when you connect with an animal that maybe doesn't belong to the person asking you for the connection? I guess that would be my question.
Hmm. So it doesn't necessarily have to be a horse. It's not, if it was a different horse, even if it was your own horse, I'd still ask the horse's permission
Mm-hmm.
for to communicate with them. So yeah, I always ask that permission. So how that looks is the process that I explained earlier in the podcast. Once we connect, we just introduce ourselves, and then I would ask, is it okay to communicate with you today? And I'll either get a strong yes word or a feeling of yes or a no, or I use my pendulum dowser or I muscle test. Usually it's a yes, but I do get no's, um, and generally the no's seem to have been when I'm in a training setting. So I've got up to 8 people I train at a time, and we've got all of us sat there, and they've got different animals and stuff, and the I didn't know this straight away, but it seems to have been a pattern of what's come up. It's because they don't want their details shared within the big group. So
Mm-hmm.
usually now I know that, and I can go to and ask that question. So I'll be like, is it appropriate for so and so to do the communication on their own at home? And it's like a yes. So it's they don't want to share it, and they'd rather communicate. They'd rather the whatever comes up to them be passed to the caregiver on their own. Yeah, so usually that's happened. Or sometimes I've tuned into an animal and it's been like, no, they don't want to communicate today. So I'll ask the questions, is it appropriate to do it later today, tomorrow, next week? And see where we go with that.
What if that happened? Like somebody booked you to do a session and then the horse just was like, no.
I let them know because at the end of the day, we're giving the horses have autonomy to make their own
Yeah.
choices. And
Yeah.
it's also showing like the consent to them,
Yeah.
that we are listening to them and we are respecting their no.
Yeah. But you said that doesn't happen very often, though.
No, not very happy. But if it does, I have had it a couple of times, and or I have had it as well where I've only got part way through, and it's been horses that have we've processed a lot of trauma work of stuff that's been
Mm.
going on, and I've communicated through of like what's happened, and they've told me, and then we've done healing. and it's just too much to do in one session. So it's like I'll just get this sense that is that enough, and I'll douse, is that enough for today? Can I come back to this next week? So I'll just book a follow up or continue it in a week's time and let the client know.
Gotcha. Okay. Yeah, I just was curious about that question actually.
Mm.
Um, do you have any specific stories you want to share that might be interesting to the listeners? I mean, you can be vague, you don't have to give details, but like of any stories that might, I don't know, benefit the listeners to the benefit of working with an animal communicator?
Um, so I just think it's just the journey that I've been on recently. Um, and I know we talked briefly, not before we started, about like the
Yeah.
power of intention. And I just put this intention out that I really want to help. My intention was before working with pain related issues and behavioral, but my intention the last few years has really been about how can I deepen the connection between horse and human?
Mm,
Um, and what does that look like? And it's funny because all of the clients that have come to me in the last 2 years at least have been specifically, um, there's aspects of the relational issue that needs healing.
mm,
Um, so yeah, it can be if you're having trouble with your horse and you just don't know why, um, having an animal communicator that can just explore what might be going on for the horse. What does the horse need from you? And again, what might be going on for them that's showing up within the relationship with the horse that they can't quite see right now, and just picking all of that apart.
mm-hmm.
Um, and that's the way that my work's going more recently. And I really love that I can bring horses and people back together, and also bring the 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 caregivers, the people who, I don't like using the word own the horse, but who
Yeah.
care for the horses, reconnect with themselves, and see that shift as well within.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And yeah.
That's just really beautiful. Yeah.
Mm. It's just giving the horse a voice. Because one thing I had to shift past over the journey of this is, um, there was an element of my work before where it was like I had to please the caregiver or the client.
Oh, yeah.
And
Yeah.
sometimes it's not that I withdraw information. What I feel at that point, we talked about the blocking, because I had this nervous energy that I didn't want to upset the caregiver by the information,
Right.
it was my horse wasn't really that honest. And once I let go of
Oh,
that, and I was like, well,
interesting.
actually, I'm not here to please you, the person. I'm
Yeah.
here for the horse. And
Yeah.
like, if the horse says this is the problem, I'm going to address that is the problem. And you might not like it, but
That's why
yeah,
we're
how can we
here.
work on it? That's why we're here. So
Yeah.
that's not my problem, but it is my problem because we need to work that out. But yeah, I'm
Yeah.
there for the horse. So
Mhm.
there was a massive shift again, going back into, that was a me problem. I was
Mm.
too scared to upset other people because of my past experience. When you start picking it away,
Right.
I had to please other people, but then it was like, actually, who am I doing this for? Yeah, you're the paying client, but the horse is the person that the being that we're communicating with, and we're trying to help. So yeah, that
Right.
was a massive shift in the work. Huge,
Oh,
huge shift. It changed everything that I did, if I'm honest,
oh,
once I worked on that stuff with me.
yeah. I love that you brought that up. That's, I think, a really good point for people to digest that, going into a session because yeah, there might be things that aren't um necessarily what they want to hear, but if you care enough to book a session with an animal communicator,
Mm.
you probably, need to hear it. So that's cool.
And sometimes, you might not, we were saying about when I send a written report, you can come back to it. And
Yeah.
sometimes you might read it and be like, no, it doesn't quite land. But then when you
Mm,
have time to process that and you come back to it, and, clients might give me a call a week or two or however long later and go, ah, that's landed now. I can see
yeah.
that. But
Yeah.
sometimes if it's a something to do with us, again, coming back to that element, it can take a lot to look within, can't it? And
Yeah.
sometimes people aren't ready for that. So it's like when they can come back to it and revisit that.
Yeah, that's so true. And like, yeah, you might get a little defensive at first or yeah, put your
Mm.
own little guard up, but yeah, with some space and time, then maybe be ready to hear whatever it is.
Mhm.
Huh. Um, is there anything else that you want to add that I haven't asked you about yet before we get to our last question?
No, I think we've covered everything that we kind of chatted about. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. So yeah, my last question is if there was just one thing that you could tell our listeners that you would recommend that they do so that they could improve the connection or create a more magical connection with their horse, what would you tell them to do?
Look within, come back to you, be present, and notice what you're bringing to the relationship with your horse. Um, or if you're communicating to the communication, and really, yeah, self-awareness, self-reflection is key in this work. I think is key in every area of our lives, really, when we can really understand us and who we are. Um, yeah, and coming back to us. And when we can really notice what goes on for us, we can be more with that and we can be more present in our interactions with horses. And that's what horses are really looking for. They want us to show up congruently. So what we say, what we feel, and what we do are all in complete alignment. But generally, when I'm working with people with horses, what they say and what they do are completely different to what they feel, but they've got
Mm,
no awareness of what they feel. And
interesting.
that isn't making sense. And usually, when I'm communicating with animals, this is what comes back through the communications. And it's like, how can you check in? So, yeah, more self-awareness, look within and come back to you.
Yeah, and yeah, bringing this work brings that awareness to that incongruency or and then
Mhm.
figure out the steps that you need to take to have all those things align. I mean, would you say that's
Mm.
kind of what we're
Yeah,
to do?
yeah, yeah. Just how can you explore, and there's no right or wrong way of working on this stuff with you. There's many different ways that
Mm.
we can work on that, through therapy, through breath work, through meditation, whatever it is, there's many different ways. And, that's down to the individual and their way they want to kind of process that. But yeah, really just becoming more aware of what we've got going on because
Yeah,
it makes such a difference in our interaction with our horses.
mm,
Huge.
it really does. I concur.
Mm.
Well, this has been such a beautiful, lovely conversation. It's been fun to actually, get to know you a little bit better because I know it's been a few years and I was quote unquote just a client. Now I had you on my podcast.
No, I've loved it.
But
Thank you.
yeah, do you want to tell people, and I will put it in the show notes, but how they can find you if they're interested in, working with you, either, as the animal communication, the energy healing, any of your classes, how can they find you?
Yeah, sure. Yeah, I'm on Facebook and Instagram, JMS Equine Therapist and Communicator. And also I've got a website which is www.jmsequinetherapist.co.uk. So you can find me there. And yeah, if anybody's got any questions on anything I do or wants to book or anything, yeah, feel free to get in touch. And yeah, watch this space about any animal communication courses online. Because
Yay.
yeah,
I love it. Yeah, and I will transcribe that into the show notes per your contact info and all that too. But it's been so great to have you. So thank you for coming and we will stay in touch.
thanks, Jordan. I really appreciate it.
And that wraps up episode 12 of My Magical Horse, the podcast. Thank you so much for being with us for my first season of this podcast. It has been such a beautiful journey, and I am so thrilled with all the guests that we've been able to have this past year, and am looking forward to some incredible guests to come in season 2. You guys are going to be so stoked. If you would like to join us deeper on this journey, go to www.patreon.com/mymagicalhorse, and we would love to see you at the My Magical Horse platform where we go deeper into all of these things. So Thank you so much for being here. I'm so blessed to have you as a listener. Until next time, namaste, friends.